Hello, and welcome to the help video for beginner percussion for the week of April 6th. Let's get started with some music. So we'll start with our warm-up on page 73. Warm up every day. This is really a necessity. It's a good habit to get into, and when you do it with your metronome. You'll thank yourself in a year or two for doing it that way, and that metronome work is going to come in handy in developing you not only as a percussionist, but as a musician as well. The first three exercises, 8 on a hand, 4-2-1, and stick control 1, the goal is the same with all three of these, and that's to use a good, fluid, wrist rebound stroke and make both hands sound the same. I ought to be able to turn around and listen to you play and not easily tell whether you're playing with the right hand or the left hand. So I'll turn my metronome on. This is 160. This is a good tempo to start for 8 on a hand. And I'll play through 8 on a hand for you. So continue to move the tempo up, but don't move up until you feel like your muscles have loosened up and that you've relaxed a little bit, and you can move on to the other two exercises as well. Then we get to 4 and 4 buzzes. I'm going to keep the tempo at about 180. I'll move it up just a little bit. And the important thing with this one is to realize the difference between the rebound strokes and the buzz strokes. Remember, rebound strokes we're using our wrist primarily, and the buzz strokes we're going to use a little bit of arm and a little bit of pressure in the fulcrum to make those happen. Make the buzzes just as smooth and as clear as you can and make a big difference between the single strokes and the buzz strokes. So here is 4 and 4 buzzes. And there we have it. Moving right along, we have exercise 4. 4 and 4 doubles. I'm going to move the metronome down to 120 for this one. And we want the double strokes to be even as well. When you have a double stroke, the tendency is for the second note to be a little bit softer than the first one because you're using the rebound of the practice pad of the drum that you're playing on. And so it requires a little bit of extra effort on the second note to make it sound the same volume as the first one. So here's exercise 4A. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I'm done with that, I can move on to the left hand and so forth. Exercise 4B is very similar. Now we're mixing single notes and double strokes. So here's exercise 4B. And then there's the left-hand version of that one too. So do both versions. And once you're finished with your warm-up routine, then you can move on to the rhythms and the other wonderful music that you get to play. Okay, so next we're going to look at page 55 in your snare drum book. This is an appendix to lesson 3. These are some basic quarter note and eighth note rhythms that we want to review counting first, and then I'd like you to play these using a motor rhythm sticking. So here is let's pick one. Number 3. And I will just start counting. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 And you can review how to count those quarter notes and eighth notes just so that that happens in your mind when you are playing. And so counting in your head while you're playing is really important skill to develop. And even though these rhythms are very simple, this is going to help you internalize those counts. We're using a motor rhythm sticking for all of these. And just to remind you, a motor rhythm sticking means that basically the right hand is with the metronome always, and the left hand is off the metronome. So with number 3, the one that I just counted for you, my sticking is going to be right, right, left, right, 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 left, right, 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 left, right, 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 left, right, right. Keeping the right hand on the metronome, and the left hand is always playing the second of the pair of eighth notes. And so page 55 is something I'd like for you to review as well. And we're going to move on to page 59 now. So page 59 is really an extension of lesson 6, where we learn about the group of 4 16th notes together, 1 E and And so maybe I'll just count number 1 for you so that you can remember kind of how that goes. And so I've put my metronome on a little bit slower tempo. This is 90 beats per minute. And this is number 1. I'll just count through this for you, and then we'll talk about how to play it. 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4. You can do that with all the exercises on page 59. It seems like a lot of work, but once you get started, it goes by really fast. And motor rhythm sticking is going to be important here as well. With 16th notes, that just means we're using alternating sticking and we're starting on the right hand. So let me give you an example of the sticking that we're going to use for number 1. Right, left, right, left, right. Right, left, right, left, right. Right, left, right, left, right. And so on and so forth. So again, we're keeping the right hand with the metronome. Those quarter notes that are by themselves, those are all on the right hand, and then each group of 4 16th notes starts on the right hand as well. So we're using that motor rhythm principle with the 16th notes as well. So finally, let's look at page 23, which is where your test is coming from. So this is important. You're going to pick from lines 1 through 5 on page 23. You'll pick 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. You pick one of them, and that's what you'll play for your test. But I strongly suggest playing all of them. Don't just pick one on Monday when you get the assignment and just practice that one. You'll be a much better percussionist in the long run if you practice all 5, and then Thursday or Friday you can say, okay, this one's probably my best one. Let me play that one for my test. So anyway, the goal with this one is the same. We're going to make really smooth strokes. We're going to make the rhythm very, very clear. And keep a steady tempo. You're welcome to use a metronome on the test. I've noticed that the stickings here are actually motor rhythm stickings, and so they're the same stickings that we've been working with, or it's the same system of sticking that we've been working with all along. So that makes that simple. Let me count through, let's look at number 1. Let me count through this for you. Remember that 2 16th notes followed by an 8th note. That's no longer 1 E and a. Because the last one is an 8th note, it's 1 E and. 1 E and. If it was 1 E and a, there would need to be 2 16th notes on the end. Instead of that, it's just 1 8th note. So let me count through number 1 for you, and then I'll play it. So this is number 1. 1 E and 2, 1 E and 2, 2 E and 1, 2, 1 E and 2, 2 E and 1, 2 E and 1. So this is 90 beats per minute. This is your test tempo. Play somewhere in the vicinity of 90 beats per minute if you don't have a metronome to work with. Now I'm going to put the metronome back on and I'll play it. I'm always thinking the counts though in my head while I'm playing it and listening to the metronome. I'm always thinking those counts so that I can keep track of the time signature and where I am in the music. So here's number 1 playing. If there's a challenge with this, it's noticing those quarter note rests when they pop up. That's a rest that lasts for a whole beat, so don't let those catch you off guard. Let's pick one more to do. How about, let's look at number 4. I think number 4 was tricky for some of us the last time we counted these. So let's look at number 4. I'll count it first and then play through it the same way we did before. But notice all these stickings are motor rhythm stickings. You're used to this, and so that's going to allow you to keep a steady tempo, number 1, and also keep everything nice and smooth. So this is number 4. I'll count through it first, 90 beats per minute. Here we go. 1 and 2 E and 1, 2. 1 E and a 2, 1 E and 2. 1 and 1 E and 2 E and a 1 and 1. So now I'll go ahead and play through it for you. Again, keeping in mind the counts. While I'm playing, I'm thinking the counts that I'm playing, and so I'm aware of where I'm at in the measure and where I'm at in the music. So this is number 4. So there you go. You're going to pick one of those 5 on page 23. I can't wait to see your assignments. I miss all of you guys, and good luck with the test. Let me know if you have questions.